Hi everyone, and welcome back to Mental Models for Managing Change. I am Ali Juma, and I'm grateful you are tuning in. In our last episode, we explored second-order thinking, the idea that every decision has ripple effects, and that if we want to lead sustainable change, we need to look beyond the immediate outcome. Today, we're going to shift the lens a little, not to what happens after a decision, but to what happens before. Now, before we dive in, let's take a moment to revisit what a mental model actually is. A mental model is simply a way of thinking, a framework we use often unconsciously to interpret what's happening around us. You can think of it as a map for your mind, something that helps you navigate complex situations, spot patterns, and make better choices. And just like any map, the better your model, the better your ability to lead through uncertainty. Which brings us to today's model, the Ladder of Inference. This is one of the most powerful tools we have for slowing down, checking our assumptions, and understanding why two people can look at the same situation and walk away with totally different conclusions. Let's start with the model itself. The Ladder of Inference was developed by organisational psychologist Chris Argyris and later popularised by Peter Senge in the fifth discipline. It is a model that describes how we go from observing something to acting on it, often without even realising the thinking steps we've taken in between. Here's how it works. Imagine a ladder. At the bottom is reality and facts. That's everything that is observable. Raw data, events, behaviors. But we don't act on all of that. Instead, we start to select data, we pay attention to certain facts and ignore others, adding meaning based on our experiences, culture, and beliefs, make assumptions about what's going on, draw conclusions, and form beliefs. Then finally, we take action based on that belief. By the time we've climbed the ladder, we're often reacting not to what actually happened, but to the story we've created about what happened. A simple example. Let's say you are leading a change initiative and you notice that a team has not filled in a required form. At the bottom of the ladder, the observable fact, the form was not submitted. But here's what might happen internally. You notice the missing form, that is your selected data. You think they're not taking this seriously. You've added meaning to it. You assume they are resisting the change. That's your assumption. You conclude the team is disengaged. That's your conclusion. And you decide not to involve them in the next planning session, and that is your action. All of that happened in your head, fast, and is completely understandable. But what if they never got the form, or the leader was off sick, or they had questions and didn't know who to ask? The Ladder of Inference helps us pause and ask, what story am I building here? What facts am I skipping? And what assumptions might be coloring how I see this situation? Why it matters in change work? In change, people are under pressure. There is uncertainty. There are competing priorities. And under those conditions, we all tend to climb the ladder faster, often without even noticing. This model gives us a way to step back and challenge our own thinking and the thinking of others without blame or defensiveness. Here's a powerful part. Every conversation we have in a change process is sitting somewhere on this ladder, yours and theirs. So if we can learn to ask better questions and check the rungs as we go, we reduce conflict, increase empathy, and build better alignment. Where it fits in the change management journey. The Ladder of Influence is most useful during stakeholder engagement and consultation, team dynamics and collaboration, feedback and resistance conversations, and honestly, any moment where tension and misunderstanding might be building. Think of it as your internal debrief tool and a lens you can bring to external conversations too. How to use it practically. Here are a few simple ways to bring this model into your day-to-day. 1. Ask yourself, what did I observe and what did I assume? When you feel a strong reaction, pause and separate the fact from the interpretation. 2. Ask others, what led you to that conclusion? This invites them to walk you through their ladder without putting them on the defensive. 3. Rewind before you react. Especially in moments of conflict or confusion, step down the ladder even just one rung, and clarity usually follows. Your reflection challenge this week. Take a conversation or a moment from the past few days where you felt frustrated, confused, or misunderstood. Ask yourself, what was the actual observable data? What did I add to it? What story did I tell myself? And what action did I take based on that? Then ask, if I had paused on the ladder, would I have acted differently? This kind of reflection builds real awareness, and over time, it transforms how we lead, how we listen, and how we collaborate. Thanks again for joining me on the Mental Models for Managing Change. If this episode gave you a new perspective, I'd love you to share it with someone you work with, especially someone you've had a ladder moment with recently. These are the kinds of tools that open doors for better conversations. Next time, we're exploring a model that helps you focus on what truly matters, the Pareto principle, or the 80-20 rule, where small efforts often lead to big results. And I'll leave you with this. The problem is not that we jump to conclusions, it is that we forget we've jumped. Until next time.